Hey, Tony, welcome to the show. I appreciate you being here.
No, thanks, Lacey. Thanks for having me.
So, you're in a new gig. Are you enjoying it so far?
Oh, I love it. I love it so much that I think at one point I said, "Man, if I'd known retirement was so good, this good, I would have retired earlier." And somebody says, "Well, if you retired earlier, you wouldn't have this job, probably." I said, "Okay, that's fair. That's
Yeah,
fair."
yeah.
But yeah, absolutely love the job. Love it.
I want to start off by asking what is the mission of AER? I know what it is, it's near and dear to my heart, but for people that haven't had that experience yet, can you tell us what it's all about?
Yeah, thank you. That's such a great question. I love talking about AER. Army Emergency Relief is designed to provide grants, interest-free loans, and scholarships to really promote readiness, and not just financial readiness. It's actually Army readiness to help relieve some of that financial distress from our soldiers and their families so they can actually be ready soldiers. If you're concerned about the housing payment, if you're concerned about, car repairs, it's really hard to be a ready soldier. So we do everything we can to help the Army provide financial readiness for their soldiers so they can actually have just ready soldiers.
That's a really good point because if you have something like that nagging in your life, it's hard to go to work and be focused on the task at hand when your mind is at home and knowing that that problem is going to be there as soon as you get back, whether that's your day-to-day work or you're deployed, whatever it is. You're right, like you can't be fully focused and ready if you have something else going on at home. Um,
Yeah, you've got these complex things that the Army does every day. And I can just imagine, I'm going and just something as simple as driving a tank and, routine thing. And you're worried about how am I going to pay the rent? And then, you do something bad with a tank and you get hurt, on an installation. That's really bad. So we got a huge responsibility to our soldiers and families, and we're just trying to help.
I want to know if you could explain what the difference or how it works together is AER and financial readiness with the Department of Defense, because correct me if I'm wrong, they're usually in the same building, the same offices. So how are they the same and maybe work together or different?
Yeah. Yeah, we like to call ourselves the Army's nonprofit organization, the only one that's part of the Army, but not part of the Army. We're still a private organization, but we were founded as a part of the Army. If you go all the way back, 1942, a bunch of great Americans got together, gave a huge grant, and then it started the Army Emergency Relief. So there's a headquarters that's like the private entity that just is the organization, and then in the DoD, the Installation Management Command owns uh, the AEROs, which is Army Emergency Relief Officers, where you would go in and get some assistance. So it's clearly a partnership because I don't personally own those AEROs across the installation, but all that funding comes through Army Emergency Relief.
That's a really great explanation. I have never heard that myself, so that's really good distinction. And I love the word that you use, partnership. That really sums it up. You guys are working together to help service members, soldiers, and their families. So, which kind of leads me to my next question: is how do you help? What type of assistance does AER normally help out with, and who can use it?
Yeah, I said the other day somebody came in and said what asked me the same question. What assistance do we have? I said we got one category of assistance. If a soldier or family has a need, financial need, we're going to try to fill that void, whatever it is. But we actually have 30 categories officially for assistance. But we're looking to add to it if a soldier has a unique need for financial assistance, we will fill that void. Most of our assistance goes through housing or rent payment. If you've got all these other bills and you can't, pay your rent, you can come to AER. That's the number one category. Car repairs, we do um, scholarships, we do career skills programs. So those are just a whole bunch of things that we do and there are 30 official categories, but we're looking to add. So if someone is in a financial need and they have a valid need for assistance, I would please ask them to come to AER. I want AER to be the number one nonprofit of choice, and that means when they're in a tough way financially, go to AER. Now, who's available? Who can use this program? Active duty soldiers are all eligible. Retirees are eligible. Surviving spouses are eligible. Our active guard and reserve are also eligible if they're on Title 10 and been on Title 10 orders longer than 30 days. So those are the categories of who can use it. I didn't give you all 30 categories, so we're always looking to expand those. And it's a great program, and we have lots of ways to help and help our soldiers.
I love that you said that you guys are going to figure it out. I did a lot of volunteer time at Fort Campbell at AER, and I was always really impressed with because there'll be some curveballs. There's some things that you get are pretty routine, like you said, housing, cars, stuff like that. But when it comes to kids, family, like some emergencies, it's like okay, wow, like we need to make some phone calls, but it was calling and like a team of people figuring out how to get that service member the resources and what they need, and not only just need it quickly, not like we can get to that in 2 weeks. It's like no, we need it like in a couple of hours to get somebody a plane ticket or get somebody some food or whatever it may be. So I love that you mentioned that you guys are going to figure it out, and I think that's the key part of AER is the relief. Like you have something that's stressing you out, like you need help. It's relief. That's what you are there for.
Yeah, and we've got a wonderful partnership with American Red Cross. So if you're just in dire need and you go to the American Red Cross, they're always open 24 hours a day worldwide, and they have representatives all over the place. You can go in there, and we've partnered with them. So that's your first step. If you can't get to a base, and for some reason, whatever that is, and I give you an example, we had a recruiter that actually had their house completely blown away when the tornadoes hit around Clarksville and Nashville, and they weren't near the base. You can go to the American Red Cross, get all the paperwork, and we can get you the money through American Red Cross, and you don't actually have to go to a base. We can also do some assistance right here from the headquarters, but it's easier. You just go to Red Cross because those locations are usually all over the place. So there's a bunch of ways we can help, and I agree immediately as soon as we can. But most people don't realize how much we actually partner again with American Red Cross because they do a lot of assistance for us, and they'll just bill us and we pay the money. So again, like you said, getting it to them as fast as we can.
Yeah, I feel like that's the military way, though. I mean, there's always like a curveball, Murphy's Law. And so it's like, okay, yeah, you're deployed, your spouse is in a different state than the location of AER. Like, so there's a lot of moving parts, but people are working together to figure that out. I feel like that's just the way the military has to work. I wanted
Yeah,
to
and
ask
I
you,
agree. And
oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I wanted to ask you, is there something you wish more people knew about AER?
Yeah, it's usually about all the missions that we do. So, but I'll bucket it in two areas. First bucket is those not associated with the Army, just normal people walking down the street. They don't know anything about the Army Emergency Relief. We were talking with a company yesterday, and I just said, here's what Army Emergency Relief does. And this person works in philanthropy and for that company. So this is their job. And so he's like, I didn't know you existed. So a lot of times when people say, I want to help soldiers, why wouldn't you help it through AER? And I will give you another example. We had the tornadoes hit. The Bob Woodruff Foundation reached out and said, I know AER will get money to soldiers very quickly. Can we give you money and you can get it to them? We said, absolutely. So if people, one thing, just the normal American, I wish they all knew that the Army has a nonprofit. If they would like to help soldiers in need, that we would be the number one nonprofit of choice in giving. and also giving. So that's kind of where I would go. Now internally for the soldiers is we should be right back to where we're at, the number one nonprofit of choice. When you are in a financial need way, don't struggle and just go to AER. Just go and ask. People don't want to ask for help. I'm trying to make ways that we can make it easier so they may not even have to go in to see the AERO. You can just fill out the application online completely. So we're moving in that direction. We are not there yet, but I just wish they knew about all the programs that we have and utilize those resources and not wait till too long where they're sitting there in their home and having this argument over, do I pay the rent? Do I buy some food? Or do I repair the car? Because people, we want to help. And if there was one thing, it was just that they knew that we were there for them and with a no judgment zone where you could just go in and ask for the assistance. And a lot of times people will go, oh, I didn't know AER did that. So just knowing all the programs, not one thing, just knowing we exist to help them, and here's all the programs that we have. And that's what I wish more soldiers knew what we could do to help them.
Yeah, I think having conversations like this is helpful for people to realize that, and that you're not the only one. Like, people make mistakes all the time with money or whatever it is, or life just happens. Like, you can't plan for half of it. You just got to do the best you can in the situation with the knowledge that you have at the moment. But the cool thing about reaching out to somebody else for a little guidance is it's their knowledge plus yours now, and whoever else that they, in the local area, if it's employment services or car repair or something like that, now you have their resources and their knowledge adding to solving the problem. So I agree with you, like more people knowing about it and what the full capability, I think, is what's really cool. So now you have been around a lot of service members in your long career in the Army, and I was curious, what are some ways that you think service members can take ownership of their finances to be financially fit, not just while they're serving, when they get out? Because I am very passionate about like getting finances squared away before you get out of the military, because veterans are having problems with their money too. And it's just, I think it's just like fitness. I know you're also into fitness too, and using that as a tool in your life. But how can service members take ownership and not kick the can down the road?
Yeah, I really put a lot of effort into this as the 16th Sergeant Major of the Army, and I teamed really well with the woman that leads financial readiness for the Army named Robin Mrazek, an Army spouse also. So taking control of your financial needs is just knowing what tools are available and the ways to become financially stable or financially healthy. And sometimes it just takes time. I wish they knew about all the resources that we have. And what we partnered with Robin was, here's all the financial training that you're supposed to have. And some of it's actually written in law. So Congress said, hey, service members, you need to know about all these tools that you have with financial training. And they said, here's the times you should take these classes. And I really wish that all the soldiers, all the service members would actually take advantage or follow the law, whichever one you'd like to choose, and take those classes. They're really good. And I'll give you one example. So if you have a newborn, there's actually a module that says, hey, here's some of the financial things that are going to come when you have a newborn child. I really wish they would take these classes and learn over time, because I'm a true believer that it's not always about how much money you make, it's how you manage your money over time. And I've seen a lot of professional sports players, they do great, they get all this money, and 5 years later, after they leave that sport, they don't have any money, they're homeless, or something. And, and here we are, the enlisted guys manage, or gals, and they manage their money well over time, and then you're going to be financially stable. And it builds a better life, it makes you happy, less arguments in the home, less domestic violence, probably less suicide, if you can get financially stable. So One thing would be just to take those financial classes that's required and learn over time how to manage your money. And don't worry about the buckets of money that may windfall your way. And number one, because it's probably not going to happen. Number two is manage that little bit that you have. And then I think you can retire when you want and do a great job because you love the job, not because you need the money.
Yeah, I think if even if you do get the windfall and you have a ton of money, you become, some type of millionaire after you get out of the military or build it up while you're in the military. If you don't understand the basic process of managing your money, you won't know if somebody's robbing you blind. You won't notice if there's an error in your banking or investments or something like that. And so being familiar and knowing your own money, I think you want to make sure there's no holes or any problems, because if you don't understand it in good times, you're sure as heck not going to understand it in bad times when the stress is compounding and you're like, where is all this money going? And also too in life, I think those things happen, emergencies, family, like you may, be really good at saving and then have kids and find out how much money they really cost. Like, I mean, I have teenage boys and it just, the amount of food that they can pack away is mind blowing. I have to make a lasagna every week just to give those guys something to snack on. Like, it's unreal. So, um, so I think,
I have two daughters in college, so they didn't eat me out of house and home. But I do know what the cost is for soldiers and their families with children, and they can be a joy. And I think, again, if you just manage that over time, I think it's just really great. I think it's not going to be that stressful. And the Army's done a few things I think to help along the way. With kids, I still am a huge fan of the 9/11 GI Bill because my daughters are doing a little bit of that. But it goes back to some of that training I just talked about to help. That one thing is if you have children and you don't expect that windfall, did you save little chunks of money over time for your kids' college education when they were born? If you thought that way, then once they get to college, it's a lot less stressful on the family. Um, and now managing, you're gonna have boys and they're gonna eat you out of house and home. Good luck with that.
yes,
So
yes. That's every day. I think like how many times I go to the grocery store. I'm like, I was just here. I really got upset one day. The bagger guy was like, "I'll see you tomorrow," and I was like, "Oh man, like this is just too much." He knows I'm coming up here a
on
lot.
a first name basis with the bagger at the commissary, then
Yes,
you might be going too frequently.
yes, yes. A lot of problems there. Well, I wanted to ask next, and because you have a lot of experience in this, is what's your advice for service members who are struggling financially? And I do feel like the struggling financially leads to a lot of suicide ideation and problems with service members. If they are fearful of what other people will think and that's what's holding them back for asking for some guidance, and we're not saying help, just some guidance, point in the right direction, what's your advice for them to reach out?
Well, see if you can find someone that you trust that you would like to reach out. I'll give you my example. I reached out to a lieutenant when I was a young staff sergeant. I didn't know about investing or anything. Just something my family didn't have. We didn't have any money, so didn't have to worry about investing it. So
Yeah.
as I was growing up, but what happened is I went to him and I said, "Hey, could you kind of sit me down?" He seemed like a good guy. His last name was McCormick, um, and his family owned McCormick Spices. So I thought he would be a trusted agent. So
Yes.
turned out he was, and probably about 30 years later, I have that company. It was my first investment, and I've used it for 30 years.
Wow.
That the thing I picked that time is still the best thing that works in my portfolio today. So reach out to somebody that you can trust to say, hey, let me help you get your finances under control. We have financial counselors that we've hired through ACS on most of your installations if you don't have a Lieutenant McCormick to help you out. uh, but we've got financial counselors that are we pay for, not we, the Army pays for, not AER. So we have these resources and just go to them. And even though you're struggling, talk to them. If you can't find someone that has figured it out over time, maybe talk to a professional counselor. And I would ask leadership too, is just if there's a leader list, just ask your soldiers these questions. That's a lesson I learned. I thought, I'm hiring some of the best people in the Army, these young sergeants. I mean, I interviewed them all. And I remember I was a division sergeant major and we started talking about finances. I said, well, let's talk about your finances. And she looked at me like, oh my goodness,
Like
like
a deer in
nobody's
headlights,
ever
like,
done
oh,
that. Yeah, like, oh my goodness, like, why are you, I said, I'm not telling you what to do with your money, but let's talk about it. And, she listed it out and she's like, oh, I got this investment. It's a timeshare. I'm like, I Googled it. It said, worst investment ever. So I was like, okay, I don't know about timeshares, but Google says that's probably not a good investment. And then when I laid it all down, I mean, she had like $10,000 to $15,000 in debt. And I said, okay, we're on deployment. You and I, let's, make an agreement together that, you're going to try and get these things down. And let's pay off that credit card. Let's do this. So I'm not a money manager. I wasn't telling her what to invest in. But I think sometimes we're afraid as leaders to have that discussion. I am not the financial expert, but I've learned how to manage my money over time. I knew that, $15,000 in credit card debt is probably bad. So, as a leader, just talk about it and just ask that question. It's uncomfortable. And then if you feel that they're, in a bad way, get them to a financial counselor that really knows how to do budgets and help. And if you're a soldier struggling, go to one of those financial counselors. The Army has those; they're paid for, and they're a great resource. And I think we don't use that enough.
yes. And the wonderful thing is there's a lot of them. And so if you go to somebody and you don't feel it's trusted or you don't resonate with that person, I call it zing, like you're not getting a good vibe, you can go to the next one. Just like you can go to a new doctor or a new nurse, say, if it's not a comfortable, trusted relationship for you, there's no need to force yourself into it because you're not going to get the value out of it that you need. And more importantly, you're not going to let your guard down enough to be able to share the things that are important for them to be able to help you. That's just like going to a doctor and not telling them the actual body part that hurts. Like they can't help
Yeah.
solve the problem that way. So,
Yeah. I think the other thing too is people have gotten this maybe distrust and they hear financial counselors. And, if you go to a financial counselor or someone at a bank or something, they definitely want you to buy in their bank and their investments and they're in that because they're for profit. They're trying to make money. And I think some of that, misleading information kind of bleeds over to these financial counselors aren't really here to help you. That's it's not true. You know, they're hired, just by the Army to help you with that. And I think that's what's happening is like, oh, I don't trust them. Well, they're not. They shouldn't be trying to sell you anything. They're just trying to help you get your life in order.
yeah, no, that is so true. Since you recently retired, I was curious, looking back, if you could go back 36 years and tell your newly enlisted self something to do differently, what would it be?
Um, invest in Ford stock in 2008 when it's $1 a share.
Is that
You'll make a lot of money.
yes.
So I didn't do that. Um, and I'm gonna be honest, I love my life, and I've often said I wouldn't change my life one bit. And I normally say anything before 1993, because that's when I met my wife. And if I finished school or I did this or that, I wouldn't have met my wife. And she sometimes goes, "Well, what would you change after that?" I'm like, "Nothing, honey."
Yeah.
So,
Zero, zero.
zero. But my kids often say, they said, "Dad, we know what your one regret is," and it's usually just kind of jokingly. I actually do say, that somebody actually told me once upon a time. It was 2008, and Ford was $1 a share, and they said, "Hey, I think I'm going to do this." I didn't, and I actually had money to do it, and I didn't do it. I was like, I think I'm a little antsy about private equity just giving stocks in one company because you can lose all your money, and I didn't. And a year later, it's like $13 a share. I'm like, man, that's a great investment. So, um, but I've had a great life, and I don't want everyone to look back and I made some mistakes. I did really stupid things as a young soldier. That's made me who I am today. So I don't I really don't look back and say, man, I wish I'd done this. I mean, I got to be the sergeant major of the Army. I got to be a division sergeant major. I met my wife in Germany, and I've lived around the globe. Now I'm the CEO of AER. I love my life. It's like, sometimes it's a little creepy. I'm waiting for something bad to happen. It's like, it can't be this good. Life, so not much. I know that's not what a lot of people say want to hear, but love your life. Do something that you enjoy. Don't think it's not going to be hard. It's going to be painful. There's going to be loss. There's going to be sorrow. You're going to have to struggle. That's life, and it's made me who I am today. So not much other than Ford Motor Company.
Yeah, that hot tip. Yes, I could see a little regret there. I think that's with all investments, though. But that was a really great answer. That there are things that happen in life, but that ultimately makes you who you are and puts you on the path that you're supposed to be on. So I think it's wonderful that all those things have worked out the way that they have for you. I want to ask if anybody wants to donate to AER to help soldiers and their families, how can they do it?
Yeah, just go to the website AER, and there's a big banner that says donate. I think it's armyemergencyrelief.org. And once you get in there, they're literally at the top, right at the top says donate. You can do that through an allotment if you're an active duty soldier. You can do it through your credit card. So there's many ways to just kind of donate, or through an ACH, and it goes right out of your bank account. So just go to armyemergencyrelief.org, look for the big button that says donate, and then it'll guide you through the ways to kind of give to AER.
Wonderful. I'll be sure to put a link to that in the show notes for everybody. I now want to ask you a couple of quick random questions I ask everybody. First off, what is one resource or tool that you use that makes your life easier?
My running shoes.
That is a tool nobody has mentioned on the show in the 5.5 years that I've been doing that. So that's a really good answer. I appreciate that. That's a great tool, and you could take those with you wherever
I,
you go.
I know I can. I do my best thinking while running. It may drive everybody that works for me crazy because after I do a run, I have these great ideas and like, man, I wish he wouldn't have ran this morning.
Yeah,
So,
like the idea fairy got done with their run.
oh yeah, exactly what it is. They're like, oh yeah, he had a long run today, so he's got a lot of ideas.
Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, what is your favorite book right now, or your favorite book of all time?
Okay, so I'm reading a book called Talking to Strangers from Malcolm Gladwell, and it's really fascinating. I haven't finished it yet, so just a couple of chapters had the opening is a really good story. I was like, wow, this is great. So that's what I'm reading right now. I don't know if I have an all-time favorite. I've quoted mostly a book by Dan Heath called Upstream. If you're a leader of any kind of organization or just a curious person in the planet, it's a wonderful book on how to look at problem solving. And it talks about, Americans and everything we do, we like to respond to things. We don't really like to prevent things. So it's about looking at a problem and getting far enough upstream that you solve the problem and not the response. And I can give you an example. Soldiers, struggling with suicide, and they're about to commit suicide, so we make sure we take away the guns. But why? Which is a good thing to do.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
good. Take. Okay, so if you're in that predicament, that you got to do that. But what got them there in the first place? Is that's what he talks about. This theory of upstream is Was it a financial problem that caused you to argue with your wife? Your wife leaves, now you're home, you're alone, and you're distressed because the family's gone, now you're suicidal. So it talks about this theory of getting far enough upstream. So um, I've got a lot of books that I could recommend reading. If you're a leader, that's one. And the current book I'm reading is Malcolm Gladwell's Talking to Strangers.
I'll be sure to link to that, both of those for everybody. I haven't read either one of those, but the upstream sounds really great. I'm always saying, as a financial person, that the time for a lecture isn't when you're getting ready to lose your house or your car. Like, like, let's talk about how we could get better with your finances. No, that's like your house being on fire and the, firemen be like, let's talk about your smoke detectors. Nope, let's put the fire out first. Then let's talk about how I can get upstream. So I like that idea of getting ahead of things. So, okay, now it's time for my favorite part of the podcast, which is game time. And in honor of your visit today, we are going to be playing Alabama football trivia. Okay, I know. Are you ready for this?
Sure.
Yeah, like maybe. Well, I'm going to give you 5 questions. It's multiple choice
Every answer
answers.
is going to be every answer is Nick Saban.
I just saw a very funny Instagram on how hard everybody's taking that. Um, but if you get 3 out of the 5 questions correct, you get bragging rights that you won game time on the MILMO show, which is a really, really big deal. You probably want to put it on your LinkedIn. Okay. All right. Okay, so the first one is Coach Bear Bryant once said he would croak within a week if he stopped coaching football. How long did he live after coaching his last game? Was it A, 43 days, B, 15 days, or C, 27 days?
Hmm. That's 27 days.
That is correct, 27 days. Yeah, I thought that was wild. I'm sorry. I didn't know a lot of these facts, so I thought everything was interesting. Okay, so you got the first one right. Number 2. Bryant Denny Stadium has a seating capacity of, is it A, 101,828, B, 112,504, or C, 89,983?
Ooh. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with now seating, but how many attend? I know more than 110,000 have attended the game. Now, do they sit down? I don't know.
Yeah, it says
So I'm actually
seating
gonna go with
capacity. Seating capacity.
seating capacity. It's gonna be tough because I know that's over 100,000 at the game. So since it is true, yeah, I'll go with the 89,000.
No, that is wrong. You should have gone with your gut. It is 101,821.
I was so close.
So close, so close. That one was hard. That one was hard. Okay, number 3. Alabama's first head coach was A, Harold Red Drew, B, E.B. Beaumont, or C, Frank Thomas.
Frank Thomas.
No, it was Beaumont.
I have no idea.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry I'm stumping you. But I could give.
Yeah, Nick said
No, yeah, no, that's not it. And I don't know that I have him in any of these questions, so we'll see. Okay, number 4. What coach followed Coach Bear Bryant as football head coach at the University of Alabama? Was it A, Ray Perkins, B, Bill Curry, or C, Gene Stallings?
Gene Stallings.
No, it was this. It says it's Ray Perkins. I don't know if they're lying. I wouldn't know.
Well, they fired him very quickly. So,
That could be it.
well, maybe
Okay.
it was. He didn't last very long because Gene Stallings, he won one championship, but we
Okay.
only count titles anyway. Nick Saban. Nick Saban.
That's what I should have just done. Is that was the answer for everything? It would have been easier. Okay, last one. We can finish strong. Okay. Big Al, or the Alabama elephant, wasn't recognized as the official mascot until 1978. What was the reason it took so many years to name the elephant as the mascot? Was it A, Coach Bryant didn't like the elephant because it was considered slow? B, legal problems prevented the use of the elephant, or C, Alabama already had another mascot?
I'm going to go with A.
That is true. You got that one correct. So you didn't get bragging rights, so you won MILMO game time on the MILMO show, but you did finish strong. So there is that consolation prize.
Good. And I would have got the stadium. I was so close. I
Yeah,
really
so
wanted to go with
close.
101.
Yeah. Well, you'll have to come back on and give it another try another time. Well,
That's
I
okay.
appreciate you playing the game and being on the show, Tony. Can you tell everybody listening where they can learn more about you and AER?
Yeah, right there. Same website, armyemergencyrelief.org. It's all right there. So I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me. I love talking about this topic. I love helping soldiers. So this has been great. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I'll be sure to put links to everything in the show notes to include AER social media accounts for everybody to grab those there. So thank you again, Tony.
Thank you.